The Adventures of Sweet Travelers, the story of a candy that found its wings. Chapter 1, A Sweet Awakening. Caramella was just an ordinary candy, sitting on a store shelf with hundreds of others just like her. Day after day, she watched as people came and went, picking up different candies and treats, but never choosing her. She longed for something more, for a chance to be something special. One day, Caramella woke up to find that she was no longer an ordinary candy. A kind fairy had come during the night and given her wings, transforming her into a magical creature with the power to fly. Overjoyed by her newfound freedom, Caramella flapped her wings and took off from the shelf, soaring through the air and out of the store. As she flew through the town, Caramella marveled at the sights and sounds around her. She saw children playing in the park, birds chirping in the trees, and even a rainbow in the sky. She felt the wind rushing past her wings, and knew that she was meant for something more than just sitting on a shelf. Eventually, Caramella flew back to the store and landed on the same shelf she had been on before. But now, everything was different. She could see the world from a new perspective, and she knew that there was so much more out there to explore. She looked around at the other candies on the shelf, and knew that they too must dream of something more. And so, Caramella vowed to never forget her magical awakening, and to always seek out adventure and excitement. She knew that there was so much more to life than just sitting on a shelf, and she was determined to see it all. With her wings and her newfound courage, she took off into the world once again, ready to discover all that it had to offer. Chapter 2, Journey to the Candy Factory. Caramella flew out of the store and into the bustling city. She had heard stories about a magical place called the Candy Factory, and she was determined to find it. After flying for hours, she saw a tall building with smokestacks and colorful lights in the distance. She knew it had to be the factory. As she got closer, she saw the gates to the factory were closed. Caramella felt sad that she might not be able to go inside and explore. Suddenly, she saw a small crack in the gate and squeezed through it. She felt a rush of excitement as she saw the conveyor belts filled with different kinds of candies, the mixers churning different flavors, and the workers wrapping and packaging the treats. Caramella landed on a box of candy and watched in amazement as the workers hurried back and forth. She saw the candies being molded into different shapes and sizes, and the machines adding different colors and flavors to each batch. It was a magical and exciting place, and Caramella knew she had to see more. She flew over to a worker who was wrapping a candy in a colorful wrapper. The worker was surprised to see a flying candy and asked Caramella how she got there. Caramella told her story, and the worker was amazed. She took Caramella on a tour of the factory, showing her the different machines and explaining how they worked. Caramella was fascinated by everything she saw. She learned about the different ingredients used to make candies, and the importance of quality control. She saw the candy being packaged and shipped to stores all over the world, and she knew that her own adventure was just beginning. As the tour ended, the worker asked Caramella if she wanted to stay and work at the factory. Caramella declined, knowing that she had to continue her journey and see more of the world. She thanked the worker for the tour and flew off into the night sky, ready for her next adventure. She knew that there was so much more to discover, and she couldn't wait to see what was next. Chapter 3, The Enchanted Candy Forest. Caramella flew through the sky, feeling the wind in her wings and the thrill of adventure in her heart. As she flew, she noticed a dark forest in the distance. It looked mysterious and intriguing, and Caramella knew that she had to explore it. As she landed on the forest floor, Caramella could feel the magic in the air. She saw colorful candy trees and bushes, and heard the sound of bubbling streams filled with sweet, sugary water. She couldn't believe her eyes. She had never seen anything like it before. As Caramella explored the forest, she came across a group of candy creatures. They were shaped like animals, but made entirely of candy. There was a lollipop bunny, a chocolate bear, and even a gumdrop snake. They welcomed Caramella with open arms and invited her to join them for a sweet feast. They sat around the candy table and enjoyed a delicious meal, filled with all kinds of candies and treats. As they ate, Caramella listened to their stories of adventure and wonder. She learned about the history of the enchanted candy forest and the different creatures that lived there. After the feast, Caramella and the candy creatures went on a hike through the forest. They explored different parts of the forest, and Caramella saw things she never thought possible. There were candy waterfalls, chocolate mountains, and even a gummy bear cave. She was amazed by the beauty of the forest and the magic that surrounded her. As the day turned into night, Caramella knew it was time to leave. She said goodbye to her new candy friends and took off into the sky, feeling grateful for the adventure and the magic she had experienced in the enchanted candy forest. She knew that she would never forget this magical place and the wonderful friends she had made there. Chapter 4: The Great Candy Race. Caramella continued on her journey, flying through the clouds and over the mountains. As she flew, she heard rumors of a great candy race that was taking place in a nearby city. She knew that she had to check it out. As she arrived in the city, she saw a large crowd gathered around a racetrack. The racetrack was made entirely of candy, and the cars were shaped like different kinds of sweets. Caramella could feel the excitement in the air, and she knew that she had to take part in the race. She flew over to the registration booth and signed up for the race. She was given a car shaped like a peppermint, and she felt the thrill of excitement as she got behind the wheel. The race began, and Caramella put the pedal to the metal. She drove as fast as she could, dodging obstacles and trying to stay ahead of the other racers. She could feel the wind in her hair and the adrenaline pumping through her veins. As she approached the finish line, she could see that she was neck and neck with the other racers. She dug deep and pushed herself harder than ever before. She crossed the finish line in first place, and the crowd erupted in cheers. Caramella felt a sense of pride and accomplishment as she accepted the trophy for winning the race. She knew that she had achieved something great, and she felt grateful for the experience. As the sun set on the city, Caramella flew off into the night sky, feeling the rush of the race still coursing through her veins. She knew that she had made memories that would last a lifetime, and she felt excited for what other adventures lay ahead. Chapter 5: The Sweetest Homecoming. Caramella had been on her journey for what felt like an eternity. She had seen so many incredible things, met so many amazing creatures, and tasted so many delicious candies. But as much as she had enjoyed her travels, she was starting to miss home. One day, as she was flying through the clouds, she saw her home in the distance. It was a beautiful castle made of chocolate and decorated with candy jewels. Caramella felt her heart swell with happiness at the sight of it, and she knew that she had to hurry back. As she landed on the castle grounds, she was greeted by all of her friends and family. They had decorated the castle with balloons and streamers, and they had prepared a feast of all of Caramella's favorite candies. Caramella was touched by their kindness and overwhelmed by their love. She spent hours catching up with everyone, sharing stories of her adventures, and enjoying the sweet treats that they had prepared. As the night wore on, Caramella realized just how much she had missed her home. She realized that no matter how incredible her travels had been, there was no place like home. As she said goodbye to her friends and family and retired to her sweet-filled bedroom, Caramella knew that she would never forget her adventures. She would always treasure the memories of the enchanted candy forest, the great candy race, and all of the other incredible places she had visited. But she also knew that there was no place like her sweet, candy-filled castle. She fell asleep that night feeling grateful, happy, and full of joy.